A Chinese Cultural and Language Institute here in the U.S. is labeled a propaganda arm of the Chinese Communist Party by the U.S. State Department. Now, the institute operates across the country and right here in Nebraska. 3 News Now Jeff Van Sant looks into the institute and its close ties with American universities like UNL.
The Confucius Institute shares Chinese culture with Nebraska.
The Confucius Institute is accused by the U.S. State Department of advancing ideals of the Chinese Communist Party. It's now designated a foreign mission of the People's Republic of China. In a tweet, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the institute is controlled by China's Communist Party and that it, quote, advances Beijing's global propaganda and malign influence campaign on U.S. campuses and K-12 classrooms. These are sentiments Senator Ben Sasse agrees with.
The institutes actually have two much more nefarious core objectives: spreading communist propaganda and spying on Chinese students who are studying in the free world.
This is a video showing the institute's various classes teaching the language and culture. It's been operating on the university since 2007.
We're doing business with the Chinese Communist Party. We are doing business with the human rights abusers.
Xi Zhang is a UNO student from China. He's an anti-communist.
They are brainwashed the Chinese people and other horrifying human rights abuses in China, in Tibet, in Hong Kong, many places.
Xi points to the regime's human rights abuses and concentration camps of minority Muslims, and the recent crackdown by the government in Hong Kong. Xi himself was arrested during a demonstration in Tiananmen Square in 2014 on the 25th anniversary of the 1989 uprising. Hundreds or thousands were killed. No one really knows the toll.
They questioned me and threatened me, my family, and then they just released me to ask me to go back to my hometown.
The Confucius Institute at the University of Nebraska is a partnership with a branch of the Chinese government called Hanban. 3 News Now investigators looked into the contract. We found both sides fund the program, but that China provides teaching materials an unspecified amount of funds and sends Chinese instructors or volunteer teachers. The university does have a right to determine the content in the curriculum, but a section on scope of activities limits the institute to language and cultural education. It says anything else must be authorized by the headquarters in Beijing.
Especially when they go to middle school or high school, it's hard to monitor what they're talking to our young children. They just literally, I can say, they are brainwashed our young people.
The institute operates at more than 60 universities across the country. Chinese instructors are placed in a number of high schools and elementary schools across the country. In Omaha, we found 3: Northwest, Central, and Marion high schools. Over the last few years, it's come under fire, and some universities have pulled the plug. We reached out to the University of Nebraska. It didn't want to comment on the institute or its future on campus. For Xi, he says it's time the administration takes action and gets rid of it, and hopes to see a more free China in the future.
I will fight for democracy and fighting an independent China for my life.
Jeff Van Sant, 3 News Now.
The Chinese Foreign Ministry lashed out at the Trump administration's decision, saying the U.S. demonizes and stigmatizes China-U.S. relations. With the institute's new designation, it must provide reports about funding, staff, and curriculum, and other activities in the country to the U.S. government. Now, for more on this story and all of our investigative team stories, you can go to our website at 3newsnow.com. And if you have a story for the investigators, you can email them at investigate@3newsnow.com.